So it's great to be here with so many people. Thank you for listening today. Tim did a great job of giving us a view of the really big picture. Some very alarming trends, many opportunities, and things that we can all think about. I'm going to bring this right down to a very different level and talk about the lives of two particular children. Many of us work on issues and in places where it isn't always easy to know if we're really making a difference. We work very hard to bring innovation and proven models that we believe will make life better for people. But if you're anything like me, you probably also spend a lot of time worrying about, are we really getting it right? Is this really having the difference that we hope it's going to have? So today I'm going to share a story with you about how for one glorious moment, the work that MiracleFeet does, the organization that I work with, came together as I sat under a thatched roof in a small village off a dirt road in Grand Bassa County, Liberia. My name is Chesca, Colloredo-Mansfeld, I guess you can see that. I'm the Executive Director of MiracleFeet. We're a non-profit based in Chapel Hill, and we treat children born with clubfoot in 25 different low-income countries around the world. About a year ago, I was lucky enough to accompany Nicholas Kristof, one of my journalistic heroes of the New York Times, to visit our program in Liberia. He was very explicit about what he wanted to see. He wanted to go only to small villages, he didn't want to go to the cities, and he wanted to be able to talk in depth with somebody that lived with untreated clubfoot and understand what that meant for their quality of life, and then to talk to somebody that we had treated. I have to admit, I was a little bit intimidated. We had waited a long time to have Nicholas Kristof visit one of our programs, and I really didn't want to blow it. I shouldn't have been surprised. I shouldn't have been worried. Predictably, our local partner and clubfoot expert in Liberia, Dr. Augustine Chihuahua, knew exactly what we should do. So here I was 4 months later after a long drive down a very muddy road. I watched as Nick interviewed Hannah, a young mother who lived with a severe disability due to untreated clubfoot. I'm hoping that we can get this right. Here we go. Kristof talking to Hannah. She herself was not only born to a mother with clubfoot, but she also had a child with clubfoot. And while there's a genetic component to clubfoot, a common birth defect, this is highly unusual. I'd never seen 3 generations like that before. Hannah and Hannah's mother have both suffered incredible stigma and pain as a result of living with untreated clubfoot their entire lives. Fortunately, here's the grandmother, the mother, and the child. Miracles. Fortunately, Hannah's 1-year-old baby, who coincidentally was called Miracles, seems kind of strange since our organization is MiracleFeet. It was a complete coincidence. We checked the birth certificate because Nicholas Kristof didn't really believe it was true. Had been successfully treated under our program at the government hospital in Buchanan. She faces a very different life than the one endured by both her mother and her grandmother, neither of whom went to school, and neither of whom have a source of income. Not unusually, the fathers of these children both split and left when they saw that their child had been born with such a problem. At the end of the interview, Nick asked Hannah an innocent question. Do you know anyone else who lives with clubfoot? By this time, the entire village had gathered around us, and someone in the crowd spoke up. Yes, there's a boy in a nearby village, but it's over the river. It's kind of hard to get to. I noticed Augustine, our partner, get up and talk to the gentleman that had mentioned this child, but I didn't really pay much more attention. There was a lot going on, and I kind of forgot about it. Then, just as we were about to say our goodbyes and make our way back down the dirt road, back to Buchanan, a motorcycle appeared, and on the back was a young boy. His name was Henroy. He was about 9 years old. He was instructed to walk across the road towards us. His face, hanging down to avoid the gaze of the crowd, said it all. It was agony to see him. He looked embarrassed and dejected. He staggered across the road in front of us, kids giggling at his strange gait, just so that we could look at his twisted feet that made him so ashamed. I felt horrified that we had subjected him to this, but equally horrified that he had had to live for 9 years in this condition. And yet, this strange moment actually brought everything we do together. I travel around the US giving PowerPoint presentations to people that I hope will give us money to support our work. I talk about the scale of the problem, the impact we're going to have, and how we're going to bring innovation and technology to enable doctors like Augustine to treat children like Henroy. Sometimes when I'm back in my office in Chapel Hill, I wonder if I'm exaggerating, Have I gotten so caught up in this work that I'm overselling our story? But as I watched this child who had suffered so much already, it was clear, if anything, I'm underselling it. The arrival of Henroy, who lived with a single mother and 8 siblings, unable to go to school or play with other children because he couldn't walk across the log that he needed to get across the river from his home to where everybody else lived, was validation. The kids are out there, they're hidden away, living lives of shame and exclusion, and embarrassment to their parents, facing a future of relying on the pity of others in the same way that Hannah and her mother had both eked out a life. With the right systems in place, with training, low-cost supplies, it is not that hard to set Henroy's feet and his life straight. At that moment, I knew that Kristof had a story to tell, and I felt vindicated for all those meetings where I had promised an incredible return on philanthropic investment, use of technology and innovation, impeccable execution, and a sustainable model of building local capacity. Some of this is very simple. Word of mouth is an amazingly effective way to find children who need help, as had been illustrated that day. But other aspects of what we do have taken years to perfect. Low-cost braces that we helped develop with Stanford, the data collection app that we use to track patients and monitor quality, and quality is very important in this. Better training tools tailored to physical therapists and casting technicians rather than orthopedic surgeons because they're in short supply in much of Africa. I stood back and I watched our local Liberian team swing into action. They collected the information they needed. They reassured Henroy's older brother that they would return, and they patiently explained in the local dialect that Henroy had a condition that could be treated, that he too could wear shoes, walk without pain, go to school, and join in village life. The team went back a week later, after Nicholas Kristof and I had both left. They brought Henroy to one of the 6 clinics that we support across Liberia. There he received the very same treatment that he would have received at UNC or at Duke, a treatment that he had been denied for 9 years because nobody that he had come into contact with knew that clubfoot was treatable. He's doing much better now. Here he is in school on the very first day. We provided his family with a small scholarship so that they could buy the uniform and his books to set him off on the right footing. His mother reports that he's playing with other children now. He has a chance to join in. And in the future, hopefully a chance to get a job and earn a living, and perhaps one day take care of his own family and contribute to the future of his country. Innovation, coupled with careful implementation and local teams of trained professionals that care as much as we do, make a different future possible for Henroy and for future generations of kids born with clubfoot. All of this takes a lot of work, constant refinement and tweaking as we learn from partners in other countries and we bring that back. So our work never feels done. I'm sure you share that feeling. It can be exhausting. But remarkably, for this one brief moment, it all seemed to come together that day. And I have to admit, it felt pretty good. Fortunately, Nicholas Kristof also seemed convinced, and a beautiful article came out several weeks later in the New York Times about that same day in Compound 4. I hope you too get to experience your own moments when innovation and execution, in their many forms, and we'll hear about that today, come together to make a difference, perhaps under a thatched roof on the side of a dirt road. Thank you for listening, and thank you all for the work that you do that has similar impact to make life better for kids and their families, just like Henroy and Miracles.